We have to do a funny snippet so that Jay can throw it in the beginning of this episode. Or maybe that was the snippet. Who knows?
Yeah.
The Disneyland Limited now leaving for a Grand Circle tour of the Magic Kingdom. All passengers board.
Star Tours announces the boarding of the Endor Express. All passengers, please prepare for immediate boarding.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas. To those guests who've just joined us, welcome. For those of you standing, please hold on to the handrails throughout our journey and stay clear of the door.
Please keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the train and remain seated at all times. Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
I am Sam, the American Eagle, and I am proud to introduce the Grand Circle Tour podcast, a celebration of Disney parks, but mostly the American ones. I really like these guys.
Hello, Grand Circle Tour passengers, and welcome to another awesome episode of the Grand Circle Tour podcast. My name is Dan, and I will be your conductor as I take you on a tour around all things Disney. Today, I am with my two favorite co-hosts, and I'm not just saying it this time, I really mean it this time. I have Mindy and George. Mindy, ladies first, how are you, and what's up?
I am unbelievable. So what's up with me? This week's been a crazy, crazy week, and staying really, really busy, being that it's summertime and hot as heck in Arizona. But I did get to go to Target, and Target has the cutest line of Disney clothes, and I couldn't choose, so I bought like 4 fun Disney shirts, 2 of which were, they say Hakuna Matata from Lion King, really, really cute crop tops. And then I got a Mickey Mouse shirt and one of the Aladdin ones. They look classic, so it's the old classic vintage looking style t-shirts, but they're really fun. So just FYI, illicit passengers, if you want to go to Target and pick up some Disney gear, then head out because they're really fun.
Mindy, I also was at Target and also bought the Hakuna Matata shirt. However, mine was not a crop top.
No. Dang it. Probably not the same shirt then.
And that
Very
was
cool.
the next question that I was going to ask.
George, what's up with you?
What's up with me? Well, as many of you know, especially the people that follow me on social media through Facebook and Twitter, that I had released a statement on both media platforms that within the next couple of years, we will be moving down to Florida, and I will be, I guess what you call a resident of Walt Disney World. And I'm going to be starting my own YouTube channel. I didn't really officially announce it yet, but I guess now I officially announced it, that I'm going to take viewers through the process of a day in the life of a Disney fanatic and the process it takes coming from one state to another to literally move down to the magic. So if any passengers that want to follow my YouTube channel, it's Disney Family Man 23.
Oh, very fun.
Very cool. We are very excited for you, George.
Thank you.
It's funny that you bring up YouTube channels, because that was going to be my waltz up. I'm a big YouTube guy. I watch a lot of Disney YouTube videos in my spare time. I even I play them in my office at work. I play them in the car. Not that I watch them while I'm driving, but I play them in the background in my car. And I've been looking for a new one, and I found, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Super Enthused. Have you ever seen Jackie on Super Enthused? She does a lot of like off the beaten path stuff, which I was really intrigued about. So I figured today I'd give her a little plug. Awesome video, great content. It's only once a week show, but I binged it for the last probably 72 hours. I think I've watched, I don't know, maybe like 50 of her episodes. So go check her out. Good stuff.
Awesome.
However, it'll probably not be as good as George's YouTube channel will be once he gets that up and running. George, even though we fight on the show, I will be your biggest supporter, I promise.
Thank you.
Nothing but love. All right, so today it's been a little bit since I've done another DVC episode. We did a DVC 101 back in episode 51, which I think was around February. And at the time, I said I would make it a little bit of a series. So this is part 2 in the series, and today we are going to focus on the resale market. So I'm just going to stick to most of the resale questions. If you want the basics behind DVC, I highly suggest you go back and listen to episode 51. And we did just touched on very basic stuff. And as we go on, after we do this resale episode, we will start getting more and more in depth into some of the bigger questions that people may have. But I think that something that is just kind of like glanced over a lot of the times when people look at DVC is the resale market. I'm going to try to be as objective as possible here. However, I do want to have full disclosure here and say that when I purchased DVC, I did go through the resale market. It doesn't mean it's going to be the best option for you, but I do think it's something that we should talk about and kind of fully understand before anyone makes a large purchase, as we all know DVC is. So with that said, I have Mindy and George here. Both of them have expressed interest in DVC to me over the past couple months, especially with the new Riviera, right? I think both of you guys have said
Heck to the yes. That is definitely where I will be buying. 250 points DVC at the Riviera. Because I love it. It's so gorgeous. But it's how? I'm not sure. I'm DVC illiterate, or I don't know what you would want to call that.
So, Mindy, I'm going to start right off the bat, and we'll get into this in a little bit. But unfortunately, there are some changes that Disney has made because they're trying to push everyone away from the resale market and only to buy through them. And one of those changes is that the Riviera Hotel will not be available via resale ever. We'll get into that in a little bit. So if Riviera is your only choice that you want, it's not going to be available to resale. So you're going to have to go through Disney.
So you cannot book there if you have resales, what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
So why don't we, since we're on the topic, I'll just start right there, and we're kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but it's important to talk about. I think it was January of this year, Disney came out with a new rule. And basically the rule was if you bought through resale after January of this year, you would only be able to stay in the 14, what they are calling now the classic hotels. And those hotels are Animal Kingdom Lodge, Bay Lake, Beach Club, Boardwalk, Grand Floridian, Old Key West, Poly, Saratoga, the 2 at Wilderness Lodge. And then also you have the Vero Beach one, you have the Hilton Head, you have Grand Californian, and Alani. Those are what is called classic. Go ahead, George.
So from what you're saying is, aside from the 14 classic, that's where the resale is going to stop from now on. So
Correct.
Any DVCs that are coming out with the Riviera or the new Reflections, they're only going to be straight through Disney.
They're only going to be straight through Disney. Now I would say that probably in a couple of years, once people start selling their contracts for Reflections or Riviera, you can still purchase it resale. I misspoke a little bit. You just won't be able to go to any other hotel except Riviera when you book. Mm-hmm. So if you book a Riviera contract, you'll only be able to book through Riviera. Where currently, if you book a resale contract, it doesn't matter what your home resort is, you can still book at any of the other hotels, any other 14. Does that make sense?
Because I know that Disney right now, they were 90% filled with Copper Creek, but I also know that you could also get Copper Creek with the resale.
Yes, you could. I actually just got an email about an hour ago. I'm on some of these Disney resale mailing lists, and you're seeing more and more of the Copper Creek contracts come up. I think what tends to happen, to be honest with you, is people will go on those tours, when you go to Disney World and you go on the tours, and people will make an impulse buy and then realize that maybe it wasn't the right financial decision that they made. So they go ahead and they sell some contracts right off the bat.
So what are the pros and cons, so to speak, as to going through resale as opposed to just straight through Disney? Are there extra perks? Are there less
Yeah.
perks? Do they even out?
Yep. So let's start with the perks of going through Disney. And I pulled up Disney's website here just to tell you exactly what Disney says. Disney says that these are the things that you do not get with resale, which is true. All these things are true. You get the Disney Collection Resorts. And if you click that hyperlink there, that tells you that includes things like the Disneyland Resort. Things not necessarily the 14 that I said and not something you would think about. Disney Paris, Hong Kong Disneyland Resort, things like that. So you get access to that. Now, on a side note, my personal opinion is that those points don't transfer too well. But that's something that you do not get through resale. Another thing you don't get through resale, and this might affect both of you guys, George and Mindy, is the Disney Cruise Line. You can't book, if you book right now through Disney, through resale, you cannot use it to book cruises at this point. Adventures by Disney, you can't transfer your points to that. You can't do any of the member cruises, which would make sense. If you can't do any cruises, you're not going to be able to do the member cruises. You don't get any of the Disney perks as far as discounts. Is a very, I would say people, it's like an exclusive club. You get this blue card. And now with the people that get resale after January, or actually as of a couple years ago, you get what's called a white card. And it's literally that. It's just a different color. It's like you're in a different class. And when you show your card, the cashiers know not to give the discount if you have a white card. But if you have a blue card, you get discounts on merchandise. Same thing with dining. You don't get there's some restaurants that offer discounts, and you don't get that with resale. Now, I will say that the discounts was changed about 3 years ago. So if you had purchased before that, you still get all these perks. Luckily, myself, I purchased before any of this came into account, so I do have a blue card, and I do have the discounts. But if you purchase from now on, you won't get those. So those are the cons of booking through resale. The biggest benefit from booking through resale is one word, and that's price. That's cold hard cash. It is a lot cheaper to book through Disney resale. So in the last episode, I gave some like mathematical equations, and I got some feedback that some people really like that, and were able to kind of make a decision on if it's something that they would be able to go through when I brought up these mathematical equations. So I spent this morning kind of like writing some up, and I kind of just wanted to throw it out to you guys, and you guys tell me what you think about these discounts and if it'd be worth it. So I came up with a couple different things. I came up with Bay Lake Tower, 100-point contract. So that's a pretty low contract, only 100 points. If you buy directly through Disney, by the way, the minimum amount is 75 points right now. But if you do a Bay Lake contract through Disney right now, you're going to pay 225 points, $225 per point, which equals $22,500. If you did the same contract through resale, you're looking at about $157 a point, so you're talking about $15,700. So that's a savings for Bay Lake, 100 points contract of $6,800. So, what would you guys think about that? I mean, in your minds, do the perks that you don't get outweigh that $6,800?
I have a question for you with that, and that'll help with part of my decision. $6,800, that's a big chunk of change.
Sure.
The fact of just staying on property and owning a piece of Disney is, a dream in itself. But as far as the price and the points go, is that a decent price for the amount of points you get? Like, as far as like for how many times that you would go. So say for 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Would that benefit?
100 points isn't going to get you much. I would say 100 points is probably going to get you about 5 days, maybe. It also depends on what hotel you go to, what time of season. The points fluctuate. So 100 points isn't going to get you much, but it doesn't mean you only have to purchase 100 points. You could purchase more. And I'll give you another example, George, because I did a couple. I also did Grand Californian, 160 points, and I also did Saratoga Springs at 240 points. Those are just the contracts that I just casually looked and saw that they had available today. If you did Grand Californian, it's $182 a point through resale. Through Disney, it's $245 a point. It's $29,120 through resale, $39,200 through Disney, a savings of $10,080. If you did Saratoga, 240 points. Now you're looking at I did a little bit of a lesser hotel, but a lot more points. $94 a point through resale, $160 through Disney, $22,560 through resale, and $38,400 through Disney, savings of $15,840 for 240 points at Saratoga. $15,000 to me is a lot of money, And
are there any extra hidden costs with resale?
There's not. So the thing about resale is that you have the same exact costs as through Disney, as far as the extras, and those extras are going to be closing costs because it is a deed, it's a piece of property, so you do have to pay closing costs, titles, taxes, things like that. And then you also have to pay the dues, yearly dues, and we talked about that in the first episode. But the dues are the same no matter which way you purchase DVC.
Okay.
Another thing that I'll bring up, and since we talked a little bit about the perks, is a lot of people like to have that I call the blue card because you get some discounts on some of the free dining. Do you guys know what the Tables in Wonderland card is? Also.
Yes.
You do. So for those that don't know, it's a card that I believe you have to be a DVC member or a season pass holder. Is that right? Do you guys know that? I think that's
to get it. Yeah.
Yeah, to get it. It's $150, and you get 20% off all the food. I think there's a few places that don't accept it, but for the most part, they all do. So if you think about it, and you're saving $15,000 going the Saratoga route, are you really going to spend $15,000 worth of food? And then if you get the Tables in Wonderland card on top of it, which you're spending $150, you're going to get that discount anyway. So that's the suggestion I would give if the discount on dining is something that's going to trip you up a little bit if you're a big foodie. You're still going to save so much more money just by spending the extra $150 a year for the Tables in Wonderland card.
I mean, it's definitely something that I became open to. Like when I started, the thought of becoming a DVC member, my main track was just Riviera, which I still think it's a beautiful resort. I would love to own a piece of it. But after looking at the resale and the different varieties that they can give you, that has become an option for me. Now, especially since I will eventually become a Florida resident, it'll be much closer for me, so that way the DVC could become a benefit.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So I'll just talk about a few other things here. So another thing that I think people should look into is that it doesn't have to be just through Disney or just through resale. You could actually do a mix of each. And doing a mix of each can give you a little bit of best of both worlds. You're not going to get the biggest savings, but if you own through Disney, you are going to get that elusive blue card with all the perks. So just for example, I just looked at one for I just did a quick mathematical equation on one that you can purchase right now. If you purchase 75 points through Copper Creek through Disney, you're going to pay 188 points right now. $188 per point, sorry. And that's going to equal $14,100. if you were then to add 165 points at Saratoga at that $94 a point, which we talked about earlier, you can get that 165 points for $15,510. If you add the two together, you're going to have a total of $29,610, which will get you 240 points. It will also get you all the benefits because you're still purchasing through Disney, but you just have a second contract resale. And by the way, that $29,610, which would be the total, if you were to just to book that whole 240 points through Copper Creek through Disney, it would cost you $54,000, a little bit over $54,000. So it's still a huge saving doing it that way. Again, if you just booked through, all Saratoga, you're going to probably save about $7,000, about what I say, about $22,000 if you just booked through resale right at Saratoga. But if you're willing to spend a couple more $1,000s, you will be able to get a smaller contract through Disney, thus getting all the perks.
So what I've heard is people, what they'll do is buy 50 was the smallest contract, right? So like
now it's 75, but it was 50.
75. So okay, so you can buy that and add it on, but then you can go buy Disney or resell.
Right.
That's kind of the loophole that people are doing, right?
Yeah.
So can you look what's the new one that way?
Yeah. So if you wanted, Mindy, you could book the minimum contract to Riviera when that becomes available. I think it is available now, but and then just book points. Yeah, and add up all your other points on a smaller hotel. And my suggestion.
Heck yes.
My suggestion is Saratoga seems. I mean, listen. Again, I'm biased. Full disclosure. I bought
like
mine at Saratoga
though.
Yep.
I do like Saratoga. It's really pretty.
The reason that I like Saratoga even more, though, Mindy, besides the fact that it's pretty and it's close to my favorite part of Disney World, which is what, George?
Disney Springs.
Disney Springs, favorite theme park of all Disney. Is what I like about it the most is it's cheap and the dues are very inexpensive. And we talked a little bit about that in the first episode, but it's important to kind of weigh your dues too, because you talked about hidden costs before, George asked. Even though it's not hidden because they tell you about it, most people don't, it kind of get sticker shock when they get that first bill every January of how much their dues are.
Now, kind of going back a little bit, when you said, and I guess there's really no right or wrong answer, this just depends on each person's preference, but in your opinion, would you suggest doing a full contract with Disney and then buying the extra points through resale, or vice versa?
So it is really up to the person. It really depends on, do you want all those other perks? If you really want those other perks, I would highly suggest doing a mix. But if the cruise line doesn't, isn't your thing, if you don't care about the discounts on merchandise and dining, or you're willing to do the Tables in Wonderland card, and you're not going to do Adventures by Disney, or you're not going to do the Concierge Collection, which I'm never going to do in my life, to be honest. It's still cheaper just to go through resale. It really is.
After the fact that we become Florida residents, automatically we're going to become annual pass holders.
Sure.
For which we will get the 20% off the merchandise and dining anyway.
Right.
So, in your opinion, would you then lean more towards doing the main contract through resale and then get the extra points with Disney?
Yeah, that's what I would probably do. And just, George, I know you, so I know you'll use the perks. I know you would use that stuff, and I know you would like. You do a lot of cruising. So for you personally, I think that's the right way to go.
Split it up.
One other thing I was going to talk about a little bit is when you're purchasing through resale, you're buying, it's like buying a house almost, right? And you're buying a piece of property from another person. So although negotiations, are few and far between, they're not out of the question. So if you see a contract that you really like as far as points go, you can contact that buyer, or that seller, I should say, and kind of say, hey, would you accept, something a little bit cheaper? Where we all know you can't do that with Disney, right?
Yes.
Disney's going to laugh at you and say, get away, But there's also something called the right of first refusal. Do you guys know what that is at all?
I heard that you were talking about it, that Disney gets first bids on it after everything is, before it's like the final signature, so to speak.
Yep. So once you come to a selling / buying price on a resale contract, it actually has to go through Disney, and Disney has to sign off on it. It usually takes them about 30 days. But Disney has the right to say, this is a great price, and I'm not going to let this transaction go through, and I'm going to buy the contract. And Disney can actually buy the contract away from the buyer, which, can kind of be frustrating for some buyers, that can get that, especially when they see a really good price. If something pops up and you're like the first one to snag it, sometimes it doesn't go through.
Has that ever happened with you?
It did not. And, I thought I had a really, really good price. Right now, I said Saratoga's at $94 a point. When I bought it 4 years ago, I got it for $82 a point, which I thought was just too good to pass up. And I was nervous. I thought Disney may take it from me, but they didn't. So I kind of got lucky. There's also some other things with the resale market. When you look for contracts, it's important to kind of go through all the different third-party vendors. And there's a lot of them that you could just Google. I mean, I could suggest some if you want, but there's really so many. You can do a quick Google search and find it, and they're all reputable. But all contracts are different. It's not, hey, here's a Saratoga, and it's only 100 points, and it's as easy as that. Some things you got to look at is you got to look at when their use month is. And what that means is that's when the month of the year that your contract starts. They're not all the same month. For instance, my use month starts in September, which means I need to use my points by August 31st. Now, I kind of wanted a September 1st because I usually do my Disney vacations at the end of August. So I kind of wanted it where I could borrow from the next year if I had to, and I knew exactly how many points I'd be dealing with when I went on my trip in August. Or if I don't have enough points, I know I have to either shorten my trip or not go on a trip or something like that. So, it's little things that may not seem that big of a deal, but, if you have the option of different contracts, it's always good to weigh all your options.
Now, it is known that in resale, when you're buying someone else's contract, you're only getting the remaining years that were part of their contract. So each contract could be different for the amount of years that you're getting as well. Yeah,
exactly. So each hotel has a end year. So each hotel it's the same no matter who purchased it for that hotel. They'll have this is the year where your contract is completely up. I believe mine's 2042. So any contract, I believe, I could be wrong with that, but it's around that time. But any contract you purchase from Saratoga, either through the resale or through Disney, will be up that same year. And you may be thinking to yourself, Dan, Saratoga, how can Disney still be selling Saratoga? Well, they don't really have Saratoga, inventory, but what they do have is that right of first refusal. So if they were to ever to purchase a Saratoga contract from someone and take it from them, that goes into their inventory. And then there's wait lists that if you go through Disney, you can get on. Say you really want, say, the Polynesian or Saratoga, or whatever. And then
and that's what that was going to be my next question is, if Disney purchases through the right of refusal, like what do they do with it? Does it just go and sit on a shelf like in a store?
No, they're going to get money, George. That's what Disney does.
I do have a kind of a dumb question because you are a DVC member through resale. Sure. When you go down and you use your points, do you get the same treatment as if you actually purchased through Disney? Do they treat you the same or any differently?
No one at Disney knows any different. All that they know is that I'm a Disney member. And now that we have different color cards, that's the only thing they'll know. But I do have a blue card, so no one will know that I bought through resale. Not that I even have to show my card unless I'm trying to get that discount. So if you're just someone that buys resale tomorrow and you get a white card and you go and check in, you're still going to get that great same Disney service. You're still going to have an awesome Disney website, which I love the DVC website. It's so easy to navigate, and they give you kind of like calendars to show you what's available, and it just makes it very user-friendly. But you still get access to all that good stuff. You still get a member number. You still get access to Top of the World Lounge, things like that. That's the bar on top of the Contemporary. You still get, I believe you still get access to the lounge at Epcot. And I hear through the rumor mill that they're making some other lounges in all the parks, which is a pretty cool thing. When I purchased resale, I purchased what's called a stripped contract. That's another way to save some money. I think that's why my contract was so inexpensive. What a strip contract is that, George, just like you said before, you're buying what their points are. You're also buying what they have left currently. So if they don't have any points for this year and you're buying it this year, you don't get any points this year, right? Like, you don't just get free points. So that's what a strip contract is. I bought a contract which the previous owners had used all their points for that year, and they borrowed from the next year half their points.
So you had to wait for the third year.
Yeah, I mean technically the second year because they have some points, so I was able to do a smaller trip. But what that does is it puts you like a little bit behind because you could bank and borrow. But if you can't bank until 2 years down the line, it's kind of hard to save up those points. But in return, I got a cheaper price. So you have to weigh your options. I knew at the time, that it didn't really matter at the time. I wasn't going to go that year anyway, so it didn't matter. And to be honest with you, we talked about how Disney did not take my contract. That may have been one of the reasons because they know it's not what I would call like a sexy contract, something that people will jump on, even if it's through Disney, because you can't go right now. They may be holding on to that contract for a year before someone actually purchases it.
Sexy contract sounds a little bit risque to me.
Yeah. It's a sexy one. So, any other questions, guys? I know that I threw a lot of information out, but I think it's really important just to kind of like weigh your options. Like I said before, when you make this such a huge financial decision, I don't know about you guys, but like when I purchase a car, I've been looking for trucks right now, and I don't know, it's been like 6 months that I'm pricing out trucks.
It's like trying to find that perfect one, the one that like connects with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. As of right now, I think you answered all my questions, but I guarantee you that's not going to be my only questions. Like down the road, I'm going to have so many more that'll pop into my head.
Yeah, not the last of them, huh? There's always ones to go back to, but I appreciate this. This was great information to take and learn more about DVC.
All right. So passengers, if you had any questions whatsoever, please feel free to reach out to me or any of my fellow co-hosts, and we will try to get the answer to you. You could reach out to us on our email, or if you want to even reach out on our Facebook page, you can even friend request me on Facebook, and I'll be more than happy to help you through the process. It's a very confusing process, and like I said before, I don't want to be the person to tell you which way to go. I just want to be the person who shows you every option so that you can make an educated decision based on what you as an individual wants and needs. So
put it on quotations. You want to show them the world.
Show them the world. Maybe that'll be my theme song. All right. With that said, we are rounding the corner and pulling into the Main Street station. So we are going to have to call it a day here. Passengers, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us. With that said, George, why don't you take us out?
Sure. And passengers, the Grand Circle Tour podcast would like to send a big magical thank you to Pixie Dusted Dreams Travel and Events. Please visit them at pixiedusteddreams.com for all your vacation needs. And let us show you the world, because both me and Jungle Skipper Jay are travel agents with them, and will be gladly to give you some free quotes. So be sure to check us out.
And take it away, Ken.
If you would like to keep the adventure going after the show, be sure to like our Facebook friends page, Grand Circle Tour Magical Ticket Holders. While on Facebook, like our group page, Grand Circle Tour. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Grand Circle Tour Podcast, as well as Instagram, GCT Podcast, and our YouTube channel, Grand Circle Tour. If you would like to send us a message, you can email us at gctpodcast@gmail.com. T-shirts and other fun merchandise can be found at tpublic.com. Simply search Grand Circle Tour Podcast. If you enjoyed your adventure, leave us a review on Apple Podcast. Only one rule, make it good. Thank you for riding with us, and welcome home.
Hurry back, hurry back. Be sure to bring your death certificate. We've been dying to have you.